This is CBC Here and Now.
We have to put on our big pants here, and we're in a role where we have a very serious responsibility to represent our constituents.
The opposition is questioning why the newly elected tourism minister has wiped out her social media accounts. Lawyers for 3 Liberal candidates pushing for an election recount in court today, while the PC's lawyer says there's no evidence to justify the request. Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. We begin with politics. The province's newly minted tourism minister has scrubbed her socials. Andrea Barbour made a name for herself on social media prior to politics and used those online platforms to help win a seat in last month's provincial election. But just days into her new role, many of her videos have been deleted, raising questions as to why. The CBC's Jenna Head reports.
Hey boys, how you getting on? I'm here on the Northern Peninsula with Tony Wakeham, and we're just putting some signs up and doing some door knocking as we make our way up to the coast. I loves it.
Hey boys, happy Thanksgiving Sunday. I'm here at Bird Cove out for a walk on a beautiful morning. Absolutely gorgeous. I almost got ran over by a moose. I loves it.
Newly minted tourism minister Andrea Barbour used her social media platform as a tool in her provincial election campaign. Now, her TikTok that had thousands of followers is gone, and all but one reel on Facebook. The minister says she deleted her personal TikTok account before the campaign and other pages after the election. But even though Barbour has removed much of her content from social media, some of it lives on through other users reposting videos, including opinions she expressed prior to her current political run.
Now the government here in Newfoundland's put a lot of money into tourism, but I don't think they got it straight. I don't think they got it right.
Tourism critic Bettina Ford is questioning some of Barbour's perspectives and why she chose to delete some of her pages now. NDP MHA Sheila O'Leary told CBC some of her constituents have reached out and they're concerned, but she offers grace for Barbour.
There's a huge learning curve for people who have not been involved in public representation. So I think it's extremely important that we just take our time, see how people actually act in their professional role, in this new role that they have been offered.
However, O'Leary says professionalism is also needed.
We have to put on our big pants here, and we're in a role where we have a very serious responsibility to represent our constituents and to do so in a manner that is very professional as well.
The PCs say they don't have an official social media policy, and it's up to each MHA to decide what their social media presence takes. Barbour said she's making new accounts that represent her as a minister and an MHA. Jenna Head, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, now to news from the courts. The pain appeared fresh for a young man who testified today in the trial of accused sexual predator Tony Humby. Now, this story contains details that could be disturbing for some viewers. As Ryan Cook tells us, the young man was yet another reluctant witness testifying from behind bars.
The 8th complainant to take the stand told a story similar to those who came before him. He was a teen living in a group home when he says he met Tony Humby. He says Humby offered him alcohol and marijuana on the first night they met at Humby's trailer on Hussey Drive in St. John's. He became heavily intoxicated and says Humby performed oral and anal sex on him without asking for consent. He says that was the night he lost his virginity. He says that happened about 5 times, with Humby giving him money after each incident. The young man says he felt it was normal at the time because the few friends he had were doing the same thing. To this day, he says he's confused about his sexuality. On cross-examination, defense lawyer Mark Grushy pressed the complainant on his criminal record, just as he's done for several other complainants. The cross was heated at times, with the complainant saying Grushy was trying to trip him up. Grushy pointed out that some of what he told the court was not in his statement to police. The complainant said he told the police as much as he could in one sitting, but didn't meet with them again to finish going through the details. He's back on the stand to finish cross-examination Thursday morning. Ryan Cook, CBC News, St. John's.
Still with the courts in St. John's, the sentencing hearing for a former volleyball coach and teacher guilty of dozens of sexual violence charges, some involving children, was scheduled to start today but had to be postponed. And that's because the accused didn't appear in court in person as ordered by the judge. Marcus Hicks has pleaded guilty to 54 charges, including sexual assault, luring a child, and possessing and accessing child pornography. Justice Robin Fowler had ordered Hicks to be transported from the Bishops Falls Correctional Center to St. John's to appear in person for 3 days of sentencing hearings, which are set to include victim impact statements. The judge says he wants follow-up on why that didn't happen and calls it not acceptable. He then ordered Hicks to be transported today to appear in court in person tomorrow. Well, the federal budget still needs to pass in the House of Commons, but the province's mining industry is already buzzing at the possibility of seeing more federal support for critical mineral exploration. Search Minerals, Inc. has been doing exploratory work at 2 sites in southern Labrador for the past 15 years. CEO Joseph Lanzon says there's big potential in the Big Land.
What the federal budget did is set us up to go after the rare earths, to engage with the best of engineering, to engage on how we're going to do the process. That's the important piece. And why it's important? This is a North American pro-environment solution. And that's what we're working towards. What's the best way to conquer the market? Labrador is one of the richest rare earths component is there. Another thing that is beautiful, in the St. Louis area, Mary's Harbor, Port Hope, Simpson, we are not going to be a big project, okay? We're only going to have 150 people every 2 weeks. So we have 300 people, but really it's not 300. It's 150 in, 150 people out. We can get a lot of the people from those 3 communities. And right now, as you know, the mine is open. The 6 people there are all local people. And the 2 geologists are local as well. So everybody is local.
Well, a former Liberal premier of this province has a new job. Dwight Ball has been appointed chairperson of the board of directors of the Canada Development Investment Corporation. The appointment came on the recommendation of the federal finance minister, François-Philippe Champagne. The CDEV manages major assets and investments of the Canadian government. 2 of its biggest portfolios involve oil and include the 8.5% interest in the Hibernia project in this province, as well as government stake in the Trans Mountain Pipeline out west. Ball has been appointed to the role for a 4-year term. He served as premier of this province between 2015 and 2020. The Gander youth is in police custody for allegedly uttering threats at a school. The RCMP received the report from St. Paul's Intermediate School this morning. Officers arrested the youth, removed the young person from school property, and charged them with uttering threats. Now to St. John's, hundreds of local musicians and industry professionals are in the capital city for MusicNL Week. And for the first time, all of the performers at the conference will be covered by union contracts. The CBC's Zach Gowdy has more.
It's the biggest week of the year for many of the province's working musicians and folks working in the music industry. MusicNL Week begins today in downtown St. John's with 4 packed days and nights leading up to the annual awards gala on Saturday. But this year, MusicNL is making one major change. All performers at this year's conference will be covered by union contracts. Tamara Cater is the executive director of MusicNL. She says the contracts won't change the conference experience for performers, as MusicNL was already paying musicians at union rates. But she says now MusicNL will pay a little extra to the Canadian Federation of Musicians. At a time when many musicians are struggling to earn a living, Cater says it was important for MusicNL to make a stand.
We know that the revenue landscape for musicians has changed drastically in the last 10 to 20 years. You know, musicians are making micro pennies off of streaming. There's so many places where the revenue is being eroded. And we really wanted to make sure that their participation in MusicNL Week and the work that we do at MusicNL was fair, publicly acknowledged, and under the umbrella of the union contract with the Canadian Federation of Musicians.
That union helps musicians across the country, providing the opportunity to pay into a pension, support with contracts and touring, even lobbying governments on issues such as the regulation of apps and streaming services. Those issues will be a big part of the conversation this week at MusicNL. In addition to the artist showcases and award shows, there are many industry events, business panels, and training opportunities happening throughout the week. If you'd like to be part of that or just take in some great music, check out the website, musicnl.ca. Zach Yowdy, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, Christmas is around the corner and plenty of people are already embracing the buy local approach this holiday season. And that's a big help for small businesses that have been hit hard by U.S. tariffs. The CBC's Abby Cole stopped by the Craft Council's annual holiday craft fair to chat with some shoppers and business owners.
Holiday shoppers are getting a head start on buying gifts at this craft fair, and this year buying local is on their shopping list.
Extremely important. Yeah, I always buy local as much as I can.
Some people are even considering Canada's current relationship with the United States while doing their holiday shopping.
Is buying local something that's important to you this Christmas?
Yeah, I would say so, especially given the political climate right now.
It's better to kind of tap into the artists that are already here rather than elsewhere, especially if it's like in the US and with the tariffs at the moment.
In February, the province launched a Buy Local campaign, encouraging residents to buy from NL businesses in the face of Trump tariffs. And fair organizers say more people than ever turned up to the craft fair to support local.
It's really important, particularly this year. A lot of our exhibitors have lost customer base in the U.S., and so they need to pick up that business somewhere, and it's great when they're able to pick it up here locally.
And while some local businesses are feeling a positive impact,
so our sales have increased overall, and I think that the momentum for buying local has just been so elevated that I think it's going to be here to stay for a while.
some are still facing challenges.
Like a lot of our online retail is the U.S., so it's a significant impact. What we're gaining from Canadian sales is great, but it doesn't make up from what we've lost from the U.S. side.
Basically makes it more fair.
In August, Trump removed the de minimis exemption, a rule that prevented goods from entering the U.S. that cost less than $800 from having extra fees. But now that those fees are tacked on, businesses say selling to Americans is more difficult.
You try to ship and you get everything tangled up in customs because there's just so much backlog with the customs with all the small packages that they have to process.
The Newfoundland Salt Company decided to stop shipping to the U.S. altogether.
UPS stopped carrying food products going across the border. That was one thing. And then that makes it more complicated because there's less less people bringing things across. And it's just the fact that you're going to put like $40 and $50 charge just to process it to cross the border. It's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. We had a lot of customers reach out to us and apologize for it, actually, from the U.S., saying, we're sorry this happened and we wish we could get your product.
With the holidays just around the corner, these business owners hope customers will continue to buy local to help make up for any tariff losses. Abby Cole, CBC News, Torbay.
Have a look at this. Volunteers in France are working to preserve some cave drawings that have a connection to this country. During World War I, Canadian soldiers made some unique carvings in this chalk quarry. The cave is now at risk of collapsing, so teams are working on creating digital versions of the markings.
Well, what a difference 36 hours make. As you can see, these are the current temperatures sitting now, but you know what? There's Yesterday, I think we had 17 warnings and 16 warnings and 1 statement. Today, we have 0. So there's still lots to talk about in the weather, but there won't be any heavy rainfall or a lot of snow coming for a lot of us now. But we'll catch up not after the next break, the one after that. All right, see ya.
In 1964, we were granted a license for our second, but now primary production center in St. John's. CBNT just went on the air on October the 1st of that year from temporary quarters on Water Street West and continued there until March 1966 when the big move took place.
The request for a recount for 3 districts in the provincial election was put before a judge in Supreme Court today. The Liberals hope to challenge the results in the districts of Placentia West Bellevue, Topsail Paradise, and Lewisport Twillingate. The CBC's Jenna Head has more.
As the districts of Placenta West, Bellevue, Topsail Paradise, and Lewisport Twillingate remain without an active MHA, the lawyer representing the 3 Liberal candidates requesting judicial recounts is alleging inconsistencies during the counting of special ballots during October's provincial election. At the provincial Supreme Court hearing on Wednesday, lawyer Megan Reynolds alleged that special ballots where voters circled a candidate's name instead of marking an X were counted while others were rejected. She alleged the same happened with voters who wrote on the counterfoil of their special ballots. In some cases, these votes were counted, while in others, they were rejected. That information is based on sworn statements from Liberal lead scrutineer Jeanette Fleming. But Adrian Ding, the lawyer representing the 3 PC candidates, argued there is no actual evidence of any inconsistencies where judicial recounts are requested. Justice Fons Fowler reminded Reynolds twice that Fleming only observed problems during the counting of votes in Lake Melville, Torngat Mountains, and St. Barb Lansa Meadows, which are not the districts being challenged in this recount application. Ding said if a recount could be granted on the basis of this evidence, a recount could be obtained in any election. MHA-elects Paul Dinn, Jeff Dwyer, and Mark Butt are caught up in the crosshairs of the court process. All MHAs and candidates were in attendance on Wednesday except for Paul Dinn, who had other business to attend to. The PC's majority status depends on the result of the recount process. If one seat flips from red to blue, they will form a minority government.
Court will resume on Friday, where the judge will announce his decisions to the threshold arguments presented today. Jenna Head, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, First Voice is melding with its parent organization First Light, but the group says it will continue working with Indigenous people in St. John's and building relationships with the community at large. The CBC's Julia Israel reports.
First Voice has been advocating for the urban Indigenous community in St. John since 2019. Now they've decided to retire the name but continue their work under their parent organization, First Light. Justin Campbell is First Light's Director of Advocacy, and while the organization offers services ranging from cultural activities to daycare to justice support, he says First Voice served another crucial role for the community.
Advocacy has never been new for urban Indigenous people, and certainly not for First Light. But that had never really been done on a systemic level. We've had staff advocating for individuals caught up in systems that just aren't built for them, that aren't serving their needs, and where, quite frankly, systemic racism is something that people come up against almost every day.
Campbell says First Voice has seen success in their work around police oversight and growing relationships with the city.
So really looking at high-level systems change in order to make a positive impact on the everyday lives of members of the urban Indigenous community. We worked very closely to develop a stronger relationship with the City of St. John's, which passed a declaration in support of the rights of Indigenous peoples. That was in 2020 at the height of the early pandemic. And since then, the First Voice team has grown hugely and very rapidly. It's in only 6 years, we've gone from one person doing this kind of work to a full team of 10.
Campbell also says the new First Light Advocacy Council gives them more power for change.
In order to head off the risk of First Voice becoming a silo, arm's length distance from First Light, we've decided to retire the name and reintegrate our systemic advocacy within the broader First Light organization. Advocacy is not going away. Our systemic focus is not going away. Policy change is not going away. So the difference is we're engaging a much broader group of people.
Up next for First Light is to advance their vision of a civilian-led police oversight board for the province and open up a new headquarters on Kitty Vitty Road. I'm Julia Israel with CBC News in St. John's.
Well, take a look at some of these pictures sent to us. This is from this morning. That's the Menahek Nordic Cross Country Ski Club in Labrador West. Jerry Rideout sent us these pictures. Look at that. That's beautiful. That was taken last night. That looks amazing. And I know we talk a lot about snow. Labrador West in like 30-odd hours got 30 centimeters of it. And you know what? Alf Parsons was out early this morning on the Piston Bully BP 100, making sure that those trails were groomed for the fine folks of Labrador. Wild, eh?
How gorgeous that it's lit. Like you can go cross-country skiing at night.
It's beautiful. When I lived in Labrador West, I did it a couple of times. I'm not a huge cross-country skier, but it is a ton of fun, and that looked great. So we wanted to give a shout-out to our friends at Menahek Nordic because people in this province love snow, especially those in Labrador West.
Yeah, for sure. And there was snow, but there was also rain, right?
Well, basically, if you saw the headlines for the last couple of days, there was a lot of rain. But I want to bring up, look at these amounts here. This was our friend Rodney Barney from meteorologist out of the Gander Weather Office. Look at those numbers, 109.2 millimeters in Boat Harbour. St. Albans, 99.4. You can't see it because it's at the bottom, but St. John's got more. There it is, 50.9. Now, these are the maximum wind gusts that we felt over the last little bit, ending today at noon. St. Andrews, 145. Sagona Island, 123. Wreck House, 120. St. Lunaire, cricket home of our very own Caroline Hillier, 108 kilometers an hour. So, the wild weather is over. That means we get to chill out for a day. Let's just take no funny headlines today. Nothing Instagrammable here, kids. So you're going to have some snow in Labrador, some sunshine, and maybe a little rain later. So let's just take a quick look at the current temperatures. As you can see, it's a little bit chilly there in western Labrador, and Churchill Falls was under a snowfall warning, but that ended a couple of hours ago. And this is what we're expecting. Now, the last system's passed through, but you know what? Guess what's going to come up underneath? Another one. And that's going to start to come up. You'll see it now as I press the next button. There it is. There's the big green monster going to come up. I think the Avalon Peninsula, based from my friends, I was talking to Blair at Environment Canada. He said the Avalon Peninsula and a little bit north of that could expect maybe 15 to 25 millimeters of rain. And here's what we're looking at tonight. A little bit of high winds, but unlike the last night, it's not pouring rain, which is what we saw in the province the last couple of days. All over except for snow in western and central Labrador. But you will have a few southeast gusts there on the Avalon Peninsula, some southeast there, Port aux Basques. They were almost going to get a lot of rain, or suspected they would, but I think at the end they only got 70 to 80 millimeters. Still a ton of rain when you think about it. But let's just take a quick look at the province's forecast tomorrow. As I said in the headlines, sun. Now a lot of this is that sun-cloud mix. So there's a couple of icons. So it's like, the Humber Valley coming all the way down into Stephenville as well. You'll see there is a chance that you're going to see sun. Just a chance, but probably going to see clouds. But anyways, and it's a similar story up in Labrador as well. Look at if you come up in the Nain. Hopefully you get a chance after, you've had snow, you've had rain, you had snow, rain, and now hopefully a little bit of sun just to dry everybody out as we make our way into the weekend. So this is what we're going to be looking to see. This is problematic because that's a weather system, and that's just going to bring precipitation as it's going to move on up across the island there, and then another system's going to come in. Talking to our friends, I don't know if I mentioned that here last night or on the go when I was speaking with Chrissy a little bit earlier. My friends at Environment Canada, both Erica and Blair, were saying that it was a pretty slow summer. They sort of got, obviously other than the forest fires, but they said as soon as September hit and the fall came, it's just been system after system after system, which has brought a lot of wild weather. But that's why we're here. That's why people like to tune in, because you want to hear about it, because we get lots and lots of weather. And hopefully, as we make our way into Friday, things will get a little bit better. So the weekend is going to shape up, but we'll talk about that later on in the show. As you can see here, 7 degrees, a lot of sevens coming around, a little bit of precipitation. There is a chance that you might see some freezing rain, But as you move your way up into Labrador, the same sort of thing. It's starting to get a little bit colder. Obviously, the coldest spot is Labrador West, but as we talked about at the top of it, they don't mind. They don't mind. I think I'm out of slides. Anyways, now we're going to move to a sports story. We sort of talked about it earlier in the week, but we sort of didn't get to wrap it up. But there was a disappointing outcome for Team Atlantic, and that featured 3 players and 1 coach from this province. But they played in the Women's Under-18 Hockey Championships. Let's take a look at some footage here.
Kept in. Poirier, Mossy shooting, scores!
From 2 losses to start.
Mossy opens the scoring again.
Team Atlantic battled back from 2 losses to start the Women's Under-18 National Hockey Championships to make the finals. And despite scoring the first goal, as you just saw, the team fell a little short of goal. Team Atlantic lost to Team Quebec by a score of 3-1 this past weekend on Saturday in Conception Bay South. So we're a little late on giving you this news because a few other things happened on Monday and Tuesday, but we wanted to recognize the 4 people from this province involved with that team, and that's players Sophie Urquhart, Marissa Dawson, goalkeeper Katie Hurley, as well as goaltending coach Kelsey Shute. Congrats.
Thanks, Jeremy. Well, this is a really interesting story. Volunteers are racing to preserve a piece of World War I history located deep underground in northern France. Canadian soldiers used an underground quarry as barracks and left behind detailed sketches and carvings on the walls. The CBC's Elizabeth Whitten got a first-hand look at those images and the work to preserve them.
Down, down, and down we go, passing through a cramped staircase 40 feet below the surface, holding onto a rope for safety, ducking our heads as the ceiling gets lower and lower. The brick stairs turn to sandbags. Finally, we come to stand at the bottom of Maison Blanche Souterraine, an underground chalk quarry in northern France, just a few minutes' drive from the city of Arras and the Vimy Ridge National Historic Site. More than a century ago, these caves were a haven from the muddy trenches and artillery firing overhead. Canadian soldiers gathered here in 1917 would go on to fight in the Battle of Vimy Ridge. In between eating, resting, and preparing for the next battle, soldiers left impressions on the chalk walls that are still here to this day. As we explored the caves, our flashlights lit up the sketches of cap badges, women's faces, animals, and names.
It's a humbling experience to go down there, traveling in the footsteps of the Canadian soldiers.
Now, 2 volunteer groups, Canadime, based out of Ontario, and the Durin Group, out of the UK, are racing against time to document and preserve these carvings before the cave collapses.
Canadime's artistic and executive director, Zenon Andersson, says being in the cave in the presence of the carvings is moving.
Some really stick in your brain in terms of their lifestyle. The cool thing about doing this kind of work is that the graphics that they left on the walls sort of open a window into the mindset at the time they were down there.
Before he joined up, Private Earl Leroy Lacey was a farmer back home in Dutton, Ontario. He carved his animals onto the walls, like a pig, chicken, and swan.
He's thinking about home.
Lacey wouldn't make it home to see his animals again. He died aged 29 and is buried in France. One tale that sticks out to Andersson is that of the Harvey brothers, who enlisted together. The older brother, William, promised to keep his younger brother, Clarence, safe.
He wound up getting his stripes, and he was going to be moved to another battalion. In other words, they were going to be separated. So what he basically did, he basically gave up his stripes. The unfortunate thing is, the younger brother was killed 2 months later.
Norman Allett, a sniper, left behind a doodle of a woman with curly hair.
We couldn't figure out where that came from. And eventually we got a hold of the family and whatever, and they sent us a whole bunch of photographs. And literally, he was drawing his girlfriend.
Allett survived the war and married his sweetheart. While these dedicated volunteers have been going into the quarry for years now, there is still plenty of work left to be done. Andersson says when they started over a decade ago, the technology couldn't penetrate the wall. The new 3D scanners can pick up the pencil sketches soldiers made on the walls. I even got to try my hand at it. As a member of the Jurin group, David Hedges has spent plenty of time exploring tunnels and caves. The group of about 30 people count among it those with experience in bomb disposal, archaeology, and history, among other backgrounds. For Hedges, the Maison Blanche souterrain find is unique on the Western Front.
It's dedicated to the Canadians because on the walls there are not only magnificent carvings, but also many soldiers have put their names. 750 Canadian soldiers have written on the wall of the cave. So it's by far the richest cave that's ever been found, and particularly poignant for the Canadians.
Maison Blanche souterrain isn't open to the public because of safety concerns, but occasionally the Jurin group does bring visitors down.
But it is a great experience to bring families back and stand where their own relative was in the First World War. Unfortunately, some of them died, others survived, and it is nice to show particularly Canadian groups around.
There is also some urgency to their work recording and documenting Maison Blanche souterrain. They don't know when the ceiling could come crashing down, obliterating these magnificent carvings. It's a matter of when, not if, it collapses.
Eventually, it will collapse, as is the fate of all souterrains. France has an ongoing problem because houses, etc., are collapsing into these souterrains all over the place. So it is very important that we fully recorded what is there in the worst case, it does start deteriorating badly.
So we don't want to lose that. This is our Canadian heritage, really.
The volunteers are still making new discoveries. The day I was there, they uncovered a sketch on the wall they hadn't noticed before. April 9th, Grand Advance. The author, of course, couldn't have known that the Grand Advance would one day be known as the Battle of Vimy Ridge, a defining moment of Canadian history. Elizabeth Whitten, CBC News, St. John's.
From bologna and carnation milk to samosas and curries, a new Canadian entrepreneur encouraging cultural exchange. Sunday at 11:30 and Monday at 7.
The Jamaican community is small in Labrador West, but they are determined to help those back home who are dealing with the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa. One local resident is collecting items for those in need.
The Jamaican community here in Lab West is doing a food drive, well, not really just food, but a donation drive to see how much we can collect so to help needy families back home, food stuff, clothes, shoes, toiletries, whatever can help to have someone, receive something that they have lost during the hurricane season. Mom is back home, my dad, sisters and brothers, everyone for me is back home. They're not doing 100%. Damage-wise, they're okay. They didn't got any damages. Thank God for that. We've been getting good feedbacks from local community members. Small businesses been reaching out to us, and we're very grateful for them. Non-perishable items, toiletries like toothpaste, toothbrushes, deodorant, lotion, stuff like that.
Well, the Corner Brook Rapids swim team put its new pool to the test this week. The team held its first ever meet at the Marina Redmond Center. CBC stopped by to check out some of the action.
So we are hosting our first swim meet here at this new center, and it's the West Coast Invitational. So it's a swim meet for the teams from the West Coast, so Gander, Stephenville, Corner Brook, and Deer Lake. This is a beautiful facility. We've been waiting for a long time for it, but it's been worth the wait. Everything's run really smoothly. We have a really strong team of volunteers who put this all together. Working with the city's been great. They've been really helpful in making everything go. So it's been great. We're on our last session now this morning, and so far so good.
Oh, it's been fantastic. What a great opening meet for our swimmers and for the other swimmers that have been here to travel to the meet. The facility is absolutely incredible, and we knew that anyway since it opened, but to see a meet being hosted here so smoothly and so successfully has been fantastic. The new age sort of technology that exists here, the fantastic viewing area, which is leaps and bounds ahead of what we previously had, is just so much more supportive for the families that are here watching, and not to mention the pool itself for the swimmers. Everything is just new and just so wonderful to be a part of. So unlike the previous pool where there was one viewing area that you had to access from the outside and there was nowhere else to sort of sit while you were waiting for your swimmer to compete, this has two different areas. The one that's directly above the pool, and it's an open air viewing area, so you really get to get a sense of the vibe in the pool, and you can cheer your swimmers on and they can actually hear you. But then there's also an area outside of that where it's a little bit cooler, but an opportunity to sort of switch in and out depending on when your swimmer is competing. Lots of great opportunities to cheer on other swimmers, to hear parents cheering on their swimmers. It's just a really nice community vibe.
It's really, really nice. I'm actually really glad that there is a cool down pool over there, so after your long race or something, you can go swim there to just cool down. It's really nice.
I think it's just going to start feeling like home for us because the last one did, so we're really excited to make this our home.
New numbers from Statistics Canada show Canadians are continuing to boycott travel to the United States. The data shows 1.4 million Canadians made the trip to the U.S. and back by car in October, and that's a drop of more than 30% from the same month last year. And the number of Canadians making return trips by air south of the border was about 437,000, and that's down nearly 24% from a year earlier. A Saskatchewan family is speaking out after WestJet canceled their tickets, claiming their 14-year-old daughter's wheelchair was too heavy. Helena Mahalik has more on the family's demands for better accessibility.
Eighth grader Georgia Nataraj says she's looking forward to a family trip to Mexico during February break.
I was getting really excited about it.
At just 18 months old, Georgia was diagnosed with spinal muscular atrophy. A 200-kilogram wheelchair helps to ease tension in her muscles and spine. And her family says they've flown with WestJet out of Saskatoon for years with her chair. But now the airline has canceled their tickets, claiming the chair exceeds its weight limit.
I was kind of a little bit sad that we weren't gonna go if we couldn't find a different way to get there.
WestJet told Georgia's father that handling a wheelchair of that weight is unsafe for its staff and it could damage the chair. And in a statement to CBC News, the airline says WestJet updated its wheelchair size and weight limits in its accessibility progress report of June 2024. But the family says they are confused about the timing of those rule changes.
As recently as 8 months ago, we were flying on WestJet out of Saskatoon with Georgia's chair. And so to hear that they're now refusing to take her chair on was disheartening, yeah.
Well, they just did it a couple months ago, so why is it too heavy now?
The family is still planning on that vacation, making an 8-hour drive to Calgary to catch a bigger WestJet plane that can accommodate Georgia's chair. But they're hopeful this incident opens a wider conversation about accessibility on airlines. They're calling on Transport Canada to look into this issue further, so people outside big cities can travel on WestJet planes with heavier wheelchairs. Helena Mahalik, CBC News, Saskatoon.
There's new evidence that privatizing some medical procedures can lead to longer wait times for patients. 2 studies compared surgical data from England and Scotland, 2 countries that moved in opposite directions in the public-private healthcare debate. Christine Birak has the findings and the potential takeaways for Canada.
It's going to look straight at the lights for me if you can.
2 new academic reports are out, comparing Scotland's
You will see your consultant at every visit.
and England's approaches to reducing wait times for surgeries.
We have, in a way, a natural experiment taking place, with England deciding to pursue privatisation of services and Scotland deciding not to do that.
England began outsourcing hip, knee, and cataract surgeries to private for-profit clinics in the 1980s, while Scotland expanded surgeries in the public system by acquiring a private hospital. Now, 22 years of data suggest 60% of taxpayer-funded cataract surgeries in England are done in for-profit clinics. In Scotland, it's just 2%. Both countries doubled the number of surgeries, and wait times are shorter in Scotland than in England. But the shift negatively affected English hospitals.
What we found was that far from helping the public sector froze as money flowed out of the system into the private hospitals.
The report suggests the private route overall led to longer wait times for all patients, lowered the capacity of hospitals to do certain surgeries, and increased inequality in accessing care.
I guess the question is, can we extrapolate those findings to Canadians?
Surgeons who welcome for-profit clinics say systems need to strike a balance.
I think it's something to keep in mind as we open these centers, that we don't deplete the existing human resources from hospitals where there's good work being done.
Others argue the evidence is clear.
Scotland, in contrast, actually improved wait times across the entire population. So that's a really important lesson for us.
All doctors say quicker access to surgeries is a must. But as provinces spend more taxpayer dollars in for-profit clinics, Scotland and England's experience may offer a glimpse of what's ahead. Christine Birak, CBC News, Toronto.
So here's what we've gathered from talking to local residents.
I spoke with a renter who's facing eviction this fall.
It is not for the weak of stomachs.
What does it mean for you to be able to give that advice and to know that you've helped? Don't look down.
If this is something that you didn't know about, let me tell you.
Heather Gillis, CBC News, Happy Valley Goose Bay.
St. John's.
Corner Brook.
Shaji, Innu First Nation.
Grand Falls, Windsor.
New West Valley, Newfoundland and Labrador.
Sorry, let me just jump in there. What camera? This one?
Yes.
Do I need to bring back the mustache? I think if you saw in that promo, I have the mustache. Yeah, that was the summer. Yeah, it's okay. So the weather.
Let's talk about the weather. Yeah. So it's been a wild few days. Weather-wise, you've been very busy relaying all of the weather details to people. Are we going to get any kind of like a break? Or
yeah, like we're going to get a break. There's a bit of a break in St. John's today, but we're going to get a break tomorrow.
Okay.
But then guess what's going to happen?
Rain.
Man, that was pretty clever of me. I'll give myself credit for that one. So as you can see, these are the forecasts. We're going to look, and the sun is going to come out. In the words of Annie, the sun will come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow there'll be sun. So if you're stuck with a day that's gray and lonely, just pick up your chin. Sorry, I've gone too far here. So as you can see, this is what we're looking at tomorrow for the island. A lot of this is sort of, it's this cloud-covered, cloud-sun sort of mix, similar to if you were in St. John's today, and that's the only city that I was in today. That's sort of what you saw today was sun, and then it rained for a little bit. But this is it. There could be the chance of some rain, a little bit of showers down here in Placentia and Harbour Breton as well, and a little bit in Port aux Basques. And I know that part of the province, that southwest coast, and into Harbour Breton as well, St. Albans area, you've seen a lot of rain, so hopefully you won't see too much more. And I know up as you move up into Labrador, it's pretty much similar story, pretty much par for the course. Churchill Falls did get a little bit of snow today. There was a snowfall warning in place, as I said, but that's all gone now. A little bit of wind there in Labrador West, but that's not going to slow anybody down, that's for sure. And these temperatures are probably like 4 degrees in Mary's Harbour tomorrow, looking best kind. Tickety-boo, as some might say. But as I said, just enjoy Thursday, because Friday, just look at that. So Friday night, it's going to be a party just down here. So if you want to head down to George Street, which is probably right about here, make sure you bring your parka, your raincoat, maybe an umbrella. Follow me for more life hacks. I used that joke before. So as you can see, that system's going to move all the way across the island, and there could be there's a rain-snow mix, that's the pink there, and that could bring some more snow. Now, as in terms of amounts, we're not going to know much until tomorrow, but basically down here where it's going to hit the worst Friday night, you could see 15 to 25 millimeters of rain. No amounts on snow yet. We hopefully will have more on that tomorrow. So we'll just see as this sort of moves its way through, that system's going to come through. And Saturday, for parts of the province, will look up. And this is sort of a further look ahead into Friday as well. Now let's just take a quick look at the long-range forecast. As you can see right now, the sun will come out for Saturday and Sunday here in the eastern Newfoundland. Central, you could be having that rain-snow mix on Friday. And into the weekend, Corner Brook, you'll be happy to get the snow. I'm sure the folks at Marble Mountain will be. And similar story, chance of some flurries, but no real accumulations at this point. Take a quick look at our weather photo of the day. It's a double rainbow, but I can't really see. Maybe I didn't edit it out. Anyways, it's a beautiful rainbow that was sent in to us. This is taken in Gander this morning. There's Nellie Moss. I tried hard to fix those 2 boxes. I even
Rain box?
See the box? Double rain box. Typo. Oh, gosh. Oh, gosh. Sorry about that. Anyways, you got a photo, send them to me at nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Well, Nellie, that is a beautiful photo.
I was like, what are you looking at?
I was like, didn't catch her name.
No, sorry.
Nellie Moss, thank you so much for sending that in. Great shot. And yeah, that's it for us. Thank you so much for spending part of your evening with us.
We will see you tomorrow.